this is Barbie Blank, aka Kelly Kelly, and you're watching Wrestling Express Podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Glenn Davidson welcoming you to another episode of Crossover Superstars, the show where we take a look at how pro wrestling has found its way into other forms of media and entertainment. And before I get into the episode, I just wanted to thank you guys for the overwhelmingly positive response on the first episode based on Shrek. I was really happy to get that. I was not expecting as much positivity as I did, but thank you guys for it so much, and stuff like that keeps me going, and I promise to have a whole lot more good content in the future. So for today's episode, we're going to take a look at a kids show on Nickelodeon that I used to watch a lot of when I was growing up. So let's take a look.
So today we're going to be taking a look at Hey Dude. Hey Dude was a show on Nickelodeon in the late 80s, early 90s that I would watch the hell out of as a child. I must have seen every episode over a dozen times each. Now some of my younger viewers may not have ever heard of this show, so let me give you a brief synopsis. Hey Dude takes place at the Bar None Dude Ranch in Tucson, Arizona, and it's run by Mr. Benjamin Ernst. Mr. Ernst is a former New York businessman who bought the ranch and wants to become a real country boy, and most times he's laughably unsuccessful. Mr. Ernst is joined by his nephew Jake, who is always coming up with some kind of scheme. There's also Mr. Ernst's son Buddy, Danny, Brad, and Melody, who would interestingly enough go on to become the future Mrs. X Ben Stiller, for better or for worse. On this episode of Hey Dude, Mr. Ernst comes up with an idea to promote the ranch and get over their supposed mid-season slump. He has decided that the ranch will host a pro wrestling match, and this is met with obvious excitement and tickets sell like wildfire. One of the wrestlers, some dude named the Masked Marauder, even sent his costume to the ranch ahead of time. Foreshadowing. The match will be between the aforementioned Masked Marauder and Captain freaking Lou Albano. When Lou arrives, everyone's excitement turns to fear, as he terrorizes the ranch staff and is generally mean to any and everybody. He has outrageous demands, scares the crap out of Mr. Ernst at every turn, and even gave Danny year-old orange juice. Lou becomes frustrated at the ranch's amenities and wrestling venue not meeting his standards, and threatens not to do the match. Mr. Ernst convinces him to stay by offering his payment up front. Lou almost signs when Jake, Ernst's ticket manager, comes in and tells him he has an important phone call he should take before signing. Mr. Ernst gets aggravated at Jake and tells him to go away, and Lou signs the contract. Again, foreshadowing, because Ernst later finds out that the call was for the wrestling promoter, saying that the Masked Marauder could not make the match due to injury. Mr. Ernst then discovers that if he pays Lou all the money up front and gives everyone who purchases tickets refunds, the ranch will be dead out of business.
We're out of business.
So Jake and the others have come up with an idea. They called the promoter, and he's okay with letting Mr. Ernst replace the Masked Marauder in the match. Because why the hell not, right? No promoter in his right mind would agree to this, but this is a kid show after all. Anyway, Jake now becomes Ernst's wrestling manager and helps him train for the match, and naturally the training does not go according to plan. So they decide to go to plan B.
We're going to have a nice, long talk with Captain Lou.
When they talk to Captain Lou, he's naturally not happy, but is even more frustrated at the Masked Marauder not showing up to rehearse, and Lou has decided that instead of working the match, he's just going to beat the hell out of him. When Mr. Ernst asks him, well, what if the Masked Marauder isn't coming and that he's taking his place, Lou replies simply and ominously,
I'd say your prayers.
So they decide to go with Plan C, which is really not much different from Plan A, and Ben Ernst, aka the Masked Marauder, is going to step in the ring, risking health and safety, to fight Captain Lou Albano in order to save the ranch from bankruptcy. Pretty legit arena setup, with a pretty legit arena announcer. And Ben Ernst can't even get into the ring because he's not wrestling with his glasses on because they'll get crushed. Captain Lou takes to the ring. So now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for, Captain Lou Albano versus Ben Ernst, also known as the Masked Marauder. And so this whole deal is less of an actual wrestling match and more of just Ben Ernst trying not to get completely destroyed by Captain Lou. He spends the entire match running around the ring, trying to avoid getting hurt. He doesn't really even mount any offense. When Captain Lou gets a hold of him, it really is a squash in every sense of the word. Ben Ernst does not get a drop of offense in this entire match. I always like looking at the crowd in this one because it looks like it's all full of extras and not actual wrestling fans. Again, this is a kid show. He's really at just Captain Lou's mercy. He's getting kicked, getting caught up in the ropes, headlocked, Irish whipped, thrown around the ring like a rag doll. Even partway through the match, he has his son Buddy take down his will for him So just in case he doesn't make it out of the match alive, they really play up the comic aspect of this whole scenario. Ernst ends up taking such a beating that he actually starts to think he's a kid again, and says the same kinds of things that a child would.
Mommy, I fell down. I landed on my head, I think. Mommy!
And now Ernst basically steals the entire match, not even really performing any offense at all, when Jake calls out to him in his mom's voice, or Ernst's mom's voice.
Benny! Oh, Ben! Go, Benny! Tie your sneakers!
Ben Ernst does that, and Captain Lou ends up smacking his head on the turnbuckle. He falls over, Ernst falls on top of him, count 1, 2, 3, and the match is over. The crowd erupts in joy, Ernst ends up escaping death, and since he still thinks he's a kid again, doesn't really even know what happened. You know, the rest of the kids there are very happy that Ernst is still alive, and they pretty much just celebrate without him. And after the whole scenario, the promoter calls up, asks how everything went. Of course, Ernst downplays it, and finds out that Jake actually signed him up as part of a tag team, and has him signed up for more matches. Ha ha ha, hilarity ensues, and the episode is over.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Hey Dude on Nickelodeon. Its initial run was from 1989 to about 1991. It was shown in reruns for quite some time afterward. That time period was, in my opinion, something of a heyday, a golden age, perhaps, for Nickelodeon and their live-action television series. Shows like Hey Dude and Welcome Freshman and Salute Your Shorts were all really good shows to watch while you were growing up. We didn't really have much of things like that before Nickelodeon came around and brought it to us. So thank them for that, and those are definitely shows that you guys are going to want to check out at some point. As far as the wrestling aspect of this particular show, Captain Lou, in my opinion, played the perfect stereotypical heel, was just grumpy and mad about everything, and just kind of came across as like that big, like angry wrestler type. This show also kind of teetered on the idea of wrestling being fake, wrestling being real, because he wanted to script out the match, and then he got frustrated and said, oh, I'm just going to beat him up anyway. And there was a lot of that kind of going on around that time because the idea of kayfabe still wasn't really figured out yet. There was a lot of stuff kept behind the scenes in pro wrestling, and it wasn't really until later on, about maybe a decade or so later, that the stuff became apparent to everybody, was brought out into the limelight for everybody. So this is one of those shows that really, really supported that whole idea, and was really fun to watch as I was growing up. I mean, I could tell even as a little boy that Captain Lou was just having the time of his life, and he really made this episode. Unfortunately, Captain Lou passed away in 2009. Despite that, I consider this to be one of his greatest works, so thank him for that. That's all for me for now. Why don't you guys check out other Nickelodeon shows? Hey Dude, Welcome Freshman, Salute Your Shorts, and just check out anything else Nickelodeon has to offer, because they have a lot of good stuff, even stuff that came out afterwards. Follow me on social media, check me out on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube, and there'll be more episodes of Crossover Superstars coming up in the future, so stay tuned, and thank you guys for watching.